Hi everyone, and welcome to the Game Breakdown podcast, the podcast where we break down lots of different games. This is going to be a long one.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready? Have you prepared yourself?
Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be a long one though.
So no.
That's a no.
It's going to be a long one, just because, one, this game is long as hell. This game took me about 3 years to complete. Like, it was so fucking long. So yeah, we've got to talk about the game, the gameplay, fan response, the storyline, your view, my view. There's a lot to unpack here. There's so much happening in this game.
There is a lot.
I hope you're ready.
There is a lot to unpack. Yeah, I'm excited. We have briefly mentioned this in past podcasts, touching on your experiences. So I feel like there's a possibility there might be some disagreements along the way.
I mean, maybe. I think there might be one or two. We have had a few conversations and already it seems like we weren't on the same wavelength for a few things. But we'll get there when we get there.
So where do you feel like you want to start with your experience? So just to put out there as well, for anyone to be aware of, I am a huge fan of this series, and I don't know, it kind of changed me as a person, and it sounds really cheesy, but I kept saying that to you, didn't I? I was like, this game changed me as a person. I just absolutely adore it. So I'm keen to see how you feel.
I can see why it changed you as a person. It's really, I mean, like the first one, it's very deep, very emotional. I can see why it changed you. But yeah, I had a few trips and stumbles along my way. Not graphically or any glitches or anything for once, really. There was one really funny one, which I'll tell you about later. It's not even funny, I lied. It's just something that I'll show you. But yeah, I mean, this is The Last of Us Part 2, technically, because we have already spoken about it. However, upon reflection, I've realised that this game is hella long, and that really part 1 of 2 should really have been part 1 of 5, because it's a fucking long game. So I feel like this one, we're going to break down everything. So even though this one will probably be called Last of Us Part 2, it's more like just The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
This is just the whole discussion.
We're fully diving in this time.
Fully diving in. And to answer your first question, I don't even know where to start with my experiences. There's a lot. Shall we... Okay, let's just have a very brief bit at the beginning, because we have spoken about the beginning before. I thought the very beginning of the game was quite interesting. The storyline wise, it was, it showed you enough growth of where the two characters have come, and how they've mingled into this new society that Tommy has created in Jackson and stuff. And yeah, it was quite interesting. It was quite cool. I liked how you almost felt like you started this game off the back of the last game, straight away, where Joel came back and was telling Tommy the story of how he's pretty much lied to Ellie about not her origins, but her relationship with the Fireflies, and that actually she may not have been, where he told her that there was loads of kids like her, and there was loads of people that were immune to it and stuff, when in actual fact that was completely untrue, that we know of, and he lied his ass off to her. So yeah, I liked all that beginning bit. That was cool. That was good. Where we really left off in the last episode, though, was when I said that I got to the bit where I was coming down the stairs to save Joel, and you don't know whether Joel was alive or not. You just knew that this crazy bitch was hitting him with a golf club, and you didn't know whether or not he was alive or not. I quickly got my answer to that question when I unpaused it and went back to the screen. But that's the first thing I kind of want to say. This game traumatized you from the get-go, because in that interaction when you first bump into Abby and her whole crew, and they're fucking playing 14 holes golf club, 18 holes golf with Joel's face, he doesn't die instantly. They fuck him about for a bit, and because that cutscene, he gets hit so hard, and then you're running down the stairs, and then you're going after him. It makes you feel like he might not die. It makes you feel like actually you can save him, and you can find a way. You can find a way out of it. And then you quickly find out that ain't it, and that ain't the case. And Joel gets his head caved in with a 5 iron.
With a 5 iron. So let me just touch on that. Do you think Joel should have lived, do you feel like that was in bad taste?
Do I think it was in bad taste? No, I don't think it was in bad taste. I feel like it's a gut, like a punch to the gut kind of thing. Like, I didn't want Joel to die. I really liked Joel as a character. I liked his dynamic with Ellie. But realistically, the first game tied up all of the loose ends. All you needed, there wasn't anything new to add to the story apart from Ellie finding out the truth. And once she finds out the truth, what is so exciting about that? They had to mix it up. So something big had to happen to spark a journey in Ellie. Like, do you know what I mean? She couldn't just disappear one day because that'd have been quite boring. So he had to die. I kind of knew he was gonna die.
Yeah,
So
this is something we can agree on then, because when I was avoiding Twitter because spoilers were everywhere, I didn't know this, but like even just turning the game on, I just kind of knew, you know, it was like it made sense. And I've said before that I felt like the first game had kind of set Ellie up to be who she needed to be for the second game.
Yeah.
A lot of the fans were against this. I think some of them were like kind of like trolls, you know, like grabbed onto that.
Yeah.
But a lot of fans were very, very upset. I don't know why. Yeah, it was sad. It was brutal scene. But yeah, again, I feel
really
like it was really brutal. I feel like it had to happen though. I don't think there was a place for Joel in the second game at all.
No, I completely agree. There was no place for him because, like you said, I think I even said at the end of our Last of Us 1 episode, I think I said my prediction is that Joel will die. Like, because there was nowhere for him to go. Like you said, he had taught, his whole purpose was to teach Ellie how to survive, and he did that. He served no more purpose. The only way they could have got away with him being alive, I guess, is maybe if instead of killing him, Abby kidnapped him. I don't know, and then you never got to see him for the whole game, or he was infected or something and they had to find a way to cure him, and he was the only way this could have happened is if he wasn't part of the gameplay. Like, he had to be removed completely, and Ellie needed a reason to leave and seek revenge or whatever. She had to have a reason to go and do something wild because she was quite happy living her life, her normal quote unquote life with Dina and stuff, like, and her normal teenage issues. So yeah, he had to die.
Yeah.
So did. Like I like Joel, but you know, I'm kind of
we're over him. I mean, a lot of people said that they felt it was like almost like a cop out, that it was a revenge story, but
so what? Like, that's what it is.
Like, you're wrong. So moving on.
You're wrong.
Yeah. What else then? What else was kind of, how were you
There
feeling?
was a few things that interested me, right? And the one thing that I wrote down here, because I'm professional, I've taken notes. One of the things that I found quite interesting was that after Joel dies, right, and then it cuts back to Ellie and she's at home and she's having like a mental breakdown, blah blah blah. She then goes to Tommy and is like, okay, so when are we taking revenge? And Tommy's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that was what threw me more. I was like, he's not willing to do anything about it. He's got an army at his disposal. And I said to you straight away, didn't I? They're Fireflies. Like, I didn't know about these other factions, but I was like, hold on, the Fireflies are like really weak because Joel murdered fucking half of them. I was like, and these randomers have come and killed him, and you don't think you've got the manpower to take them down? Like, I was almost offended on Ellie's behalf. Like, what are you doing? I couldn't believe that he wasn't going to entertain the idea. And then obviously it turns out that he wasn't going to. He turned the situation round and went to go do something about it. But I feel like if it wasn't for Ellie speaking up, he wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. I think this game has like a really good way at the beginning, straight off the bat, to make you be like, excuse me, like, we're not doing this, you know, like, yeah. I don't know, like, I think with Tommy, he's always been a little bit of like a dark horse, you know, so I feel like possibly, but then it was just another reason for, I guess, Ellie to get more pissed off, you know, like that he had gone without her, and it all just like added fuel to the fire.
I agree. I think that I misjudged because I thought that Tommy would be the one who would be down for anything, and that Dina was going to be the snake. And I said all the way through, didn't I? I was like, fuck you, Dina. I'm like,
you, Dina.
Dina's going to be a snake. Dina's going to cut you, like... But she didn't. Dina was actually completely loyal, well, up until the end. And we'll get there when we get there. But Dina was not the snake that I thought she was going to be, which was so interesting. Which I think, I don't know if that's just me misreading her character, or if that was like a red herring that they kind of put at the beginning, like not sure whether to trust her or not. But then you said, I don't know, did you trust her from the get-go?
No, well, actually, no, I think I said I did. Like, I weren't entirely sure, but then I just kind of did trust her. Like, I don't know. I think...
You had no choice, really, I suppose.
Yeah, I had no choice. But no, like, I think they kind of just... Their personalities and, like, how, like, playful they were. And Dina, straight off the bat, was very, like, catering. And I kind of thought, well, maybe she is going to be okay. I don't think I really had too many trust issues in this game, if I'm honest. Like...
Unlike
weirdly
me.
enough. Yeah, I mean, you had like major trust issues, but I actually didn't have too many trust issues in this game.
Oh no, I really wasn't sure about her for so long. It wasn't until, I can't even remember, I did text you about this. There was a time, and it was probably like right at the end of their story, but it wasn't until we were in the theatre that I was like, okay, I don't think Dina's gonna like do anything to me. And I don't know why it took me that long, because that's like literally the halfway point of the game. I don't know why it took me like 14 hours to be like, okay, I think I trust you. Like, it's been weeks and weeks on end, and I'm like, okay, maybe now. Like, I don't know. There was something about Dina that I just did not vibe with straight away.
You did not take to her at all, did you? Like, you just didn't.
No, I didn't. And to be honest with you, even at the end of the game, after it was said and done, I knew she was someone to be trusted, but I still didn't really like her character, and I can't tell you why. I just didn't really vibe with her. There were times when I thought she was funny and stuff, but I didn't quite like, I don't know, there was just something off about her for me, and I don't know what that was.
There's the scene where they're in the bar and she just obviously like kisses Ellie in front of everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that kind of made me feel like some kind of way, and that's not like I've been damaged, but like I just think it's one of those things where you think someone that's going to do that in front of like someone that she used to be with, like that's a bit of a dick move, you know? That's a bit like,
yeah,
everyone wants me. And I think it's kind of, it gave her this kind of bitchy sort of character, but she was generally, she generally cared about Ellie, but her as a person, like, that was a shit move. Like,
that was a shit move, because she even says, because Ellie, she said, fuck you, Dina. Because she even says, they're all staring at us. So this is Ellie saying they're all staring at us. No, they're all staring at you. And Dina says, what if they're staring at you? And she's like, they're not staring at me. And she goes, well, maybe they are. Maybe they're jealous of you. And I was like, you think a lot of yourself, don't you, bitch?
Like, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's probably why you don't like her. You're like, you got a big head. I
was like, okay. So she loves herself. Cool, I understand. And she's like, yeah, they're jealous of you because you're with me. And I thought, wow, okay. Not sure about you now.
Yeah.
Climb out your own ass, Dina.
Yeah.
Dina.
But then the whole big thing of her being preggers came to zero shock to me. I knew before, like, I think Dina even knew. I was like, she pregnant? Like, I knew.
Do you know what? Anyone in my life or anyone at my work will tell you that I'm like the baby whisperer. I can tell when anybody is pregnant. Like, I can, like, from a mile away, I can smell you and be like, she's pregnant. But, like, I did not see this coming whatsoever. When she kept being, basically, because the suspicion starts after like a fight scene, like a rough and tumble moment, and I was like, she's fucking bit. I was like, that bitch is infected. I'm gonna have to put a bullet through Dina's head. How sad. Like, secretly not really caring because I wasn't really vibing with Dina, and I was like, this is where she's gonna snake me. And then when she was like, are you pregnant? I was like, what? I thought you were infected. You're pregnant? Oh shit. And then I immediately thought like, oh god, she's gonna be like in my way being all pregnant and shit. And like, what am I gonna do now?
What a liability.
What a liability. Fucking prego. But that threw me off. I was like, oh shit, wow. She's pregno. She's prego beige.
She's prego beige.
But,
yeah. I saw that coming. That was one of the like smaller bombshells, I think, of the game.
I think that was a good bombshell though, because that puts Ellie in such... Do you know what it did really do well for me, though? It's like it made you realise that Ellie is actually losing everybody around her. So not only has she like lost her family from the get-go, then she was placed into the care of the Fireflies, who pretty much, for a positive reason, were betraying her, wanted to kill her. Joel was the only person who really cared for her and understood her. He's been taken from her. And then it was like, now Dina's the one who she loves and really likes her. Dina's now pregnant, which, regardless of how Dina feels for Ellie, in that moment, it's like, well, you can no longer be mine because you're pregnant with someone else's child. So you will always partly be part of someone else's life and not just mine, if you know what I mean. And also touching on the fact that they are both women. And it's like, right, so you've been with a guy and you have his biological child, something I can never give you. Like, do you know what I mean? It was all very much, everyone around Ellie was for some reason or another separated from her. And you really do watch her kind of like spiral into this like, wow, I have no one. Tommy doesn't want to come with me, doesn't trust me. Like, Dina's pregnant. Joel's gone. I've got no family. I have nowhere to belong. Like, it was quite sad actually watching Ellie discover all these little bits of information, because like it really did break her quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, like, it's actually quite a good point that you've touched on that. I think that kind of explains a bit as to why she's segregated herself and felt so passionate about the whole purpose of revenge, was because, you know, like you said, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, it should never matter if you're carrying someone else's child, you know, like, and you're in a same-sex relationship or whatever. But I think in that situation where you're in that kind of world, Ellie is still, you know, she's still quite immature, isn't she? Like, she's mature enough in the fact that she's grown up to become quite like self-dependent, but she is also still very immature and doesn't realise that, you know, when enough is enough, sort of thing. And I think that kind of, plays heavily on why she went out and she kind of didn't stop, because she felt like that was the only thing that she had control of. She didn't have control of her relationship with Dina anymore because Dina's now pregnant, and that's kind of put a little bit of a barrier up. So yeah, no, I thought that was quite a subtle touch. And like, you wouldn't think that Dina getting pregnant would have had such an impact to like the story, but when you really break it down and you put yourself in like their position, you're like, okay, that's actually kind of makes a lot of sense, you know?
Yeah.
It's clever.
It really does, because like, okay, when you see these stories before, when a guy gets a girl pregnant and they break up and don't realise, what often happens? They get back together for the baby. And it's like, we'll raise this kid together and we become a couple. So in Ellie's head, it could be like, well, right, Jesse really is the father, and they want to make things work for the child. What they could end up getting back together, and then I'm left again, and it's like, and then that's another person who's going to leave me. And I did really feel bad for her, but it was like, when then Jesse turned up, that was very awkward because then it was like, oh, he doesn't know, she doesn't want him to tell her. Like, there was a whole lot of drama there,
and they kept that secret for quite a while, didn't they?
Yeah, for quite a while. It wasn't until they was about to leave and then he figured it out, didn't he? And then she kind of was like, oh, well, I guess I have to tell him. But speaking of Jesse, I did not expect... Okay, so we're jumping ahead now. So when they're in the theatre and Abby comes baying for Ellie's blood the first time and swings open those doors and she puts a bullet through Jesse's head within like seconds, I was like, oh shit, Jesse's dead. And I wrote this down, like, this game kills off characters like Game of Thrones does. And if you're a Game of Thrones stan listening, you understand this. They just don't give a shit whether you're a main character or not. Dead. Done. Like, so the fact that they were just killing off people left, right and centre was like quite exciting but frightening. It's like, who's going to go next? Like, anyone could go.
That was it.
And like, I was going to say, it also, we'll get there, but like, it ties in with Abby's story as well, and it really just goes to show how Abby and Ellie's stories are very similar, but we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, sorry, what was you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, it's true, like, the whole time I was playing this game, after Joel went, which, to be honest, obviously, like I said, I expected, and then when Jesse went, I was kind of like, okay, they're not scared to bump people off. And I know we've only met Jesse, really. We only know who he is through, like, the first start. I just instantly liked him. He was just, like, a nice person. Like, someone how I can imagine I'd be, like, a friend with, you know? So when he went, I was like, okay, like, yeah, this could go anywhere, for sure.
completely, because he was like a proper key
Yeah.
character, because obviously now Dina's carrying his baby. And I even said in the last episode, I was like, I don't trust Dina, but I trust the guy. I was like, I trust Jesse. Like, he seems to be like a proper ride or die. And he was. He rode all the way to the end. Like,
Yeah, he did. He went there. He was a good lad.
he went there. Poor Jesse.
Poor Jesse.
Justice
Rip.
for Jesse. Rip. But yeah. And then, okay, so when you get to... But then another thing. So I don't know if you saw this in Ellie's part, though. But then... No, I don't think you did. We'll pause for a second. But there was another moment that I was like, oh, shit. Stuff's going down. So then you have this, like, Mexican standoff with, like, Abby, Ellie, and Tommy underneath Abby's foot. And Dina secretly, like, dying of pregnancy in the back room. Like, there's a lot of drama happening at this moment. And then when Abby's like, you killed all my friends. And Ellie's like, no, like, it's me you want. Let everyone go. The spoiler that I thought I saw at the time was Abby shooting Ellie. And that was, like, the end of Ellie's story. So I was like, here we go. She's going to fucking kill me. And I'm going to play as Abby now. And I don't want to be Abby. And then you jump ship and you play as Abby without finding out how that little scenario ends for quite a while. And then this began like my ultimate hatred. Because I said to you from the very beginning, I was like, fuck Abby. I was like, I really cannot stand her. I was like, she's just murdered Joel. I'm proper upset about that. Even though I knew it was coming, the fact that she did it and the way she did it was so fucking brutal. I was like, fuck this bitch. I was like, I can't wait to put a bullet through her head and end it and be done with it. And I remember saying to you, this game is going to try and make me fall in love with Abby, but guess what? It ain't going to fucking happen. Like, I hope she dies, blah, 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 blah. Things got interesting. Like, as I continued, things got really...
Changed their opinion.
They did, but I will say, it didn't happen easily. This is like a thing that I wrote down that, like, I think is actually... I can't work out if it's a con or not, but it took me so long to like Abby. I played through all of her... I took a break after that bit happened because I actually was like, well, this game's quite intense. I need to take a break for a minute. So I took a break because when you told me it was the halfway point, like not even the halfway point, I was like, this game needs to fucking end. So I took a break. And when I came back to it, I didn't want to play as Abby. And I found myself, even like with Ellie, I was searching for secrets and for clues and for more ammo and searching up buildings. I didn't do that with Abby because I felt like I didn't care about her story. I was like, I don't care. I want to just get back to that moment so I can continue on as Ellie. And I found myself rushing through areas.
Just
Go on. Is it?
No, I just remembered what you said, and it just reminded me of. It just relays back to you not giving a shit about Abby and like anything that happened. Like if she died, you were like, it's fine, I'm done, it's cool.
Yes.
And it just made me laugh. It just made me laugh. I was the same, and I feel like so many people will agree and say that when they got to certain parts in the game, they would have just put the controller down and be like, yep, it's fine, I'm happy, let's just call it a day, you know?
Game over, she's dead, never mind. Anyway, moving on. Like, I didn't give a shit about her, and it was like, and then it was like finding all these little coins that were like a memento, like that. Oh, okay, that whole walking simulation bit where you play as her, like going to find her dad, and then you figure out who her dad is, and the penny drops, and you're like, okay, that's the bombshell. Her dad was the doctor that Joel murdered. Very sad for her. Really sorry about that, Abs. I also don't really give a shit. Like, do you know what I mean? You have so much hatred towards her because of what she's done that you can't actually process her story for quite a while. And I don't know whether the game like knows that or not, but it obviously works in some way because you end up feeling bad for Abby. But I can say objectively that Abby is in the right. Ellie is in the wrong 100% because it's tit for tat. I can see your face is just screwed straight up when I said that because when you think about it, Abby's like a completely innocent party. Like, she's living her normal life. Her dad's trying to do something. And you see in the flashbacks that she recognizes that it's a really sad thing. This poor little girl's going to have to die to save everyone. And she even says, if it were me, Dad, I'd want you to take my life and save the world. She goes, you're doing the right thing. Like, consoling her dad. And then then her dad is murdered for trying to save everybody. So from her point of view, she's like, you've killed my dad for your own selfish reasons. Like, why have you done that? I can see how she's like an innocent party. No, you don't agree, do you? Oh my god.
No, it's not. Oh my god. Okay, no, all I'm going to say is, right, there was absolutely zero guarantee that this doctor, if he even really is like a full doctor, had any kind of proper studies to say that this was going to work. He had a hunch that maybe this thing would work. And there is a young girl that deserves to have as much of a life as anyone who then gets killed, who is possibly going to get killed for something that might not even work. I feel like it's a lot on both ends. and I feel like you said that she's in. You said okay, so you said that Abby's like innocent in all this, but so is also Ellie, because Ellie didn't ask for Joel to do what he did, and I'm not denying the fact that, you know, yeah, Abby's had it a bit shit, but I won't say that Abby's any more in the right than Ellie.
Oh, I'm not saying that I'm Team Abby. Hold on. Let's slow our roll. I'm not.
Yeah, I think you just
hang on. No. That's not what I said. I did not say I was Team Abby. I said that Abby was in the right. Not for murdering Joel. I don't think that was right of her, obviously. But I think that Abby had it quite rough, I think. And like and she's innocent. Like, she's innocent in the sense of like, she's just doing what anyone would do. She is seeking revenge because someone murdered her father. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel that she's innocent. I agree that Ellie is 100% innocent too, because you're right. She didn't ask to be born. She didn't ask to be born not incurable. What's the word? Immune to the immune. She didn't ask to be immune to the virus or anything. I get that. But after... No, see, like I sound like a dick saying this, and actually I don't really think I agree with myself as I'm saying it. The fact that Abby spared her, looking back, now that I finished it, at the time, I was like, don't matter, I'd still go after her and kill her. But at the end of the game, by the time I was finished it, I was like, she spared you because she didn't want to do it. And then, when we get to it, when this Abby-Ellie situation plays out in the theatre, and they have this big brawl downstairs, and then you end up fighting, and we'll talk about that fight in a minute because there's a lot of emotional drama there, but let's just skip to the end for a second. After you basically... Abby's a fucking tank, so obviously she takes down Ellie quite easily. Even then again, because of Lev, Abby spares her again. And then at the end of the game, Ellie again goes to seek her out, and I'm like, are you a fucking idiot?
Yeah,
like, she's beat you twice. Like, she's got... like... She was only avenging the death of her father, which you've seen. She has spared you twice. You've had this awkward encounter. Joel would not want you to keep pointlessly risking your life just to kill her. It's not worth it. And you can see that Ellie works out, obviously, by the end, that she's a good person at heart, but yet still goes after her. And it's just like, oh, I get it. I get why she's doing it, but it's just...
I will say, by the moment that you get to I feel like we're jumping ahead, but like now
I know it's hard not to though, isn't it?
It is hard not. This is why I found it really difficult in previous podcasts we were talking about it. I was like, I feel like I can't say anything until you finish it, because like then we can properly like, you know, but yeah, I don't feel like we can break it down. It wasn't until like the end where I saw Abby tied up, because they initially put someone there with very long hair who looks like Abby.
Yes, I went to the girl with the plait, and it wasn't her.
Everyone did, and I think that was because we all just was like, okay, that looks like her. And then you turn around and you see that Abby's lost all of that muscle mass because she's just been tied up. They've cut all her hair off to say like, fuck you. And you realise that she's literally half of like who she was.
And how long it's been.
Yeah, and how long it's been. And my whole thought process then completely changed. I was like, do you know what? I really do not want to fight her. And I felt the exact same way that I felt about the fight in the theatre, where I didn't want to be Abby. I then didn't want to be Ellie. I didn't want any part of it. So for those two fights, I was putting that controller down, like, please no.
You checked out.
I was hard. It was like tapping it. It was like, you know when it's like press square or whatever. I was like really gently tapping it, like, I don't fucking care. Like, I just want this over with. And I feel like, yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one, because I was like, am I just really too emotionally invested in this, or is someone else doing this, you know, like... Yeah.
No, I was the complete same. I mean, we jump. Let's like reverse a bit. So when in the theatre, when they're having this like beef, so basically what I was really shocked at is after Ellie, okay, so you're having this like this Mexican standoff, and she's like, it's me you want, blah, 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 don't kill anyone else, like, you know, fight me. She then puts a bullet into Tommy, which I was like, oh shit, she just killed Tommy. And then she runs down to chase her in the theatre, and you resume control of Abby. And I was like, hold on a minute. I was like 1000% sure that I was about to be Ellie now. Yeah. And I was so shocked. And I was like, and I literally said out loud, I live by myself. I said out loud, I was like, are they going to make me kill Ellie?
I literally did the same thing. I sat there and I was like, you are not going to make me play as Abby. And then the camera just went, and I was like, no.
Yeah. And there was times because, like, one thing I've learned is I'm like a crack shot. Like, I'm quite good at the shooting in Last of Us. And there was a point where Ellie on the chair, like, stood up to shoot me, and I instantly, automatically went to aim at her head. And I could have taken her out there and then. And I was like, and I couldn't press the button. Like, my body just wouldn't do it. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And then I chased her into the back. And then I died so many times because I was just like, I don't want to do this. And when she shot Abby and Abby died and it was like, game over, I was like, that's fine then. We'll leave it at that.
No,
Abby's dead. Like, I didn't want to pick it back up.
This is exactly what I'm going to come back to at the beginning when I said I felt like this game changed me. It sounds really dramatic, but it's the first game where I've ever felt some kind of emotional impulse to, like, not do something. Like, normally in a game, you just play it, you know, you go from A to B.
You play to win.
Play to win. With that, I was literally like, I don't want to do this. Like, why do I feel like I'm being attacked? And I think that was also another reason why a lot of people didn't like the game, because they felt attacked. And anyone that did have, you know, people do get very attached to characters in games, and Joel, I think it would have been those kind of people that would have felt like this game is a massive smack in the face. Like, it didn't put me off the game, but I definitely felt like a bit weird, and I didn't know why. It was just kind of, I think it's like it's going against your morals, isn't it, as a person? It's like, you don't want to attack Ellie because you've basically kind of brought her up, like, in a sense. But then when it gets to the point where you've got to kind of fight Abby, you don't want to fight Abby because you're like, she's gone through some shit, and look at her now, she's fucking broken. And it's just, it pushes you, like...
It does. It's like it plays there's a lot of emotional manipulation, because when it makes you play as Abby, and essentially it makes you attempt to kill Ellie. So, like you said, she's shooting at you, you're taking her down, you're beating the shit out of her, and then there's a scene where you strangle her, and it's like tap square to kill her, and then you're watching literally the life drain from Ellie's eyes, and she can't grab you anymore, and she's dropping and she's dying. And I was pressing it like, oh my god, what the fuck am I doing? Like, it messes with you, because I don't know any other game, and there could be, I may have just not played it, but I don't know any other game that's used like emotional manipulation in that way. So like, it's made you have raised Ellie as Joel, and you've played as Ellie in the first game, and now you've played as a grown-up Ellie, you've seen her trauma, and you've become the villain in the situation, because at that point you probably have a bit of sympathy for Abby in the sense that she's had a bit of a rough life, but you still are Team Ellie because you've been Ellie for the past game and a half.
Ellie's all you've
known. So you're murdering yourself. And I was like, what am I doing? I was like, this is going to be a crazy story. Like, I can't believe what is going on. And then obviously, I can't remember exactly what happens, but I think she bites you, doesn't she? She bites you and you break free. And then as I was tapping the button to like murder myself, I was like, and Dina's not going to know. And I thought, is Abby going to kill Dina or something? What's going to happen? And then the fucking mic drop of the century when Dina comes out of nowhere, like in her third trimester with a butterfly knife. And then she's like,
I ain't going down without a fight.
I ain't going down without a fight. And then she attacks Abby, and then Abby obviously overpowers her and fucking smashes her head against the floor. And I was like, don't kill Dina, she's pregnant.
This game, I will say, this game is brutal. And for anyone who, I mean, obviously, like, if you haven't played it and you're listening, you're probably thinking, oh, like, what the fuck is this game? And if you have played it, like, you totally get where we're coming from. But there is a lot of moments in this game when Dina is getting her head smashed off the floor, when Ellie, she's in that, like, doorway with one of the Firefly chicks or whoever it was, and she's like, she beats her because obviously she's, I don't know if you remember this part, the light's like flashing red, it's underground, Ellie can obviously walk around without a mask on, but one of the girls doesn't have a mask, so she's trying to breathe. And Nora, yeah, that's it. It's obviously been a while since I've played it.
It's fresh for me. So.
It's fresh. And you're pressing square and you're just seeing the blood cover Ellie's face and the sound of like the alarm and the red light. And I was like doing it. And as I was like playing it, I was like, you know what? This is fucking strong stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've got quite a strong stomach for things, but I thought for someone who hasn't got a strong stomach, or if a kid was to get this game and play this, that's kind of a bit scary for someone, you know, who might not be as comfortable. And I just felt like this game, was very aggressive, like, and it's opened up new doorways, I think, for storytelling in games to that extent. You know,
I agree.
Yeah, it's a fucking wild ride.
I felt like it was really brutal, but I really liked it. Like, I liked how brutal it was. Like, I feel like it was very honest, because at the end of the day, there's zombies everywhere. It's kill or be killed. Do you know what I mean? That's the name of the game. Like, whenever you watch films or play games like The Walking Dead or Resident Evil or whatever, in these, like, it's very Mad Max, isn't it? Like, it's either literally kill or be killed, dog eat dog world. If you don't kill someone, they will kill you. So it's up to you. What do you want to do? But the brutalness, I thought, wasn't even in the aggression of their fighting and stuff. It was like just the way they spoke about each other. Like, even in that little bit. So when Dina gets her face fucking caved in, like curbed in on the floor, and then Abby grabs her neck and grabs a knife and then looks at Ellie to make her watch her kill Dina, and then Ellie's on the floor with a mouthful of blood, like, she's pregnant. And then when Abby looks at her and went, good. And I was like, oh, she's going to slit her throat and say good. And I thought, you can't do that. Like, you've just been pissed off because Mel was... And I thought it was complete revenge for Mel.
It was the perfect setting, though, wasn't it? Because it was like, oh, she is pregnant. Well, this is brilliant. It's a 1-for-1 again. You know, it's...
Completely.
Cat and mouse constantly. Yeah.
And what I really... And then when Lev obviously stopped him, was like, Abby, don't. And she got up and went, don't let me see you here again. I literally said out loud, I was like, Ellie, you've been spared twice now, hun. Leave it be. Go home, make a cup of tea, actually. Just leave it be. That was it, yeah. Like,
just leave it be. Like, for fuck's sake.
Ellie, I get you. It's like, Ellie, I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had the best album of all time. Like, it was one of those. It was one of those. I was like, just sit down. But that moment, I mean, that really did make me think. I mean, I realized as well, more so at the end, how the tables have turned in this game massively, but it is the parallels are like really crazy. So obviously you have Ellie, who has her pregnant friend Dina almost murdered, and that is a revenge killing almost, because Abby has had her pregnant, I won't say friend, but acquaintance murdered. Like, Abby has had her father killed, and Joel was basically Ellie's father figure. Like, Abby went after Ellie, and Ellie goes after Abby. It was like, then you've had the cute but lovable but cheeky side character Jesse shot by Abby because Manny ends up getting killed as well. It was like they both had the exact same parallels. Like, the exact same thing happened to them. They just both happened to be in different places when they happened. And I think it's trying to show you that they are the same character. Like, they've been through the same struggles, and they're trying to kill each other, when really they could unite over the fact that so much is going wrong for them. And like, because really Ellie and Abby would probably be very good friends. Like, they're quite similar in a lot of ways.
In a different sort of scenario, they would definitely
in a different world
just got on. I think they would have just they would have just got on. Like, but obviously shit happened. The same shit happened to both of them, and here we are. But the main thing I love about it is the fact that it doesn't glorify anything, you know. Like, I love Resi, like, you know, newfound fan here. It's a very glorified scenario, you know. Last of Us, like,
you're a superhero at the end of Resi, aren't you? Like, you've saved the world, where it's not quite as black and white in Last of Us.
Yeah, whereas with this, it's like, you could have saved the world, but you maybe got denied that, and now you're trying to kill someone who was trying to save the world. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just one fucking hot mess. But yeah, I love it. It's
completely one mess. So I'm just writing something down because you reminded me of something else. This game is so big. Yes, completely. And that is another thing. This game is huge. So much happens. It's hard to keep track. But another thing I wanted to say as well is it's quite interesting how the beginning of the game is like echoed at the end of the game. So after that scenario plays out, you then find out that you then end up in like a quaint little like 3-bedroom house in the middle of nowhere with Dina, who's had the baby, and the baby looks to be about like, you know, 6 or 7 months. So like, it looks like you've been back a long time. And you're having this like cute little couples chat with Dina, like, oh, we love our baby and our new life and blah, blah, blah. We're so happy.
It was a weird transition though, wasn't it? I don't know how you felt.
It was very weird.
I couldn't... The way they set it in the middle of this big open field made me feel so unsafe. and it was trying to act like you were.
I was waiting for the other shoe to drop when you like, or waiting for like someone to attack, like Abby to come back again.
I was going to be walking around the field with Jesse or JJ, and there was going to be like a horde of some enemy like coming for me. I just couldn't relax at the moment.
No, I couldn't either. I actually thought several times that I was going to go back in the house and Dina was going to be dead and something was going to have happened or what have you.
Yeah.
But that like transition, like you said, it made me feel so unsafe, and because it was just so bizarre. And then it was just the pretending that everything was fine, and it was very bizarre. And then like when Ellie had like her flashbacks of Joel, you were like, okay, there's some serious deep-rooted issues here. Like she's obviously, and I was like, this game isn't over. And this is the second point where I thought the game should have ended. So I thought the game should have ended at the theatre initially when Ellie was confronted by Abby. I felt like the game was actually quite long by that point, and it could have ended there. Like, the rest of the story they added on was really good, but I could have seen it ended there. Then at the house, the farmyard house, it could have ended there as well. I was like, this is the second place where I was like, this game's going to end now. Especially when you got on the tractor, because this cutscene plays, it's not really a cutscene, and the camera actually slowly pans up, and I was like, okay, the credits are roll in a second. I like 9 times, like, I'm pretty sure the credits are going to roll. And then nothing happened, so I pressed circle when she got off the tractor, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, how long is this game? Like, what's going to happen now? And then, like, Tommy comes over, and I found this bit so interesting because he's now out of the blue. One, you find out Tommy's still alive, which I kind of guessed when she went, someone's here for you. I was like, Tommy's still alive. But then when he then gives you a map and tells you that he's got informants who have spotted a girl built like an ox with a little boy, here's where Abby is. And Ellie's like, I don't think I want to go after this person. And he gets really pissed. And I was like, hold on a minute. At the very beginning of the game, Ellie wanted to go after her and you didn't want to do it. And she gave you shit for it. And like, to the point where you left. And now she doesn't want to go because she's risked her life so many times and she's actually seeing sense. And you're pushing her to go. And you're pissed with her to the point where she then has to leave her house in the middle of the night and go. And I thought, what is happening with all this psychological warfare between these two people? They're meant to be quote unquote family. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is going on?
It's true. But I fucking loved that part where Dina stepped the fuck up. She went outside. She was like, you fucking come in my house and you tell her to come. I was like, go on. Yes, Dina.
Go off, Dina. Okay.
Ellie fucking fucked up again, didn't she? But yeah, I was loving that scene with Dina. I was like, yes.
I got so cross. I was like, I love that bit with Dina. I thought it was so good, but I got so cross with Ellie because the second that finished, that little scene, I was like, she's going to leave in the middle of the night or something ridiculous, isn't she? And then when she got up in the middle of the night, I was like, oh, here we go. And then when they had that awkward conversation where Dina just tried to pretend everything was normal, she's like, see you in bed. And Ellie was like, I've got to go get Abby. And then Dina was like, fuck. It was just like that moment of like, oh, for God's sake.
It was so, so real though, isn't it? Like, they just act how you would act if like you was going to fuck off and leave your partner or they were going to leave you. You would be there like, for fuck's sake, man. Like, they just played it so well, like that whole scene.
They played it so well because, I mean, I did think Ellie was very stupid. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, you've travelled all that way to find her. You still couldn't match her. She gave you a third chance, really, like of not killing you, and you're gonna go back again. Like she spared you and spared Dina when she could have easily took you both out, and you're gonna risk everything to go back. And not only are you putting Dina at risk because you're leaving her alone in this big house with a baby, you're putting yourself at risk, and then also you're putting your family unit at risk that you will never come back again. And it's like, there's so many things that you're doing when you know now for a fact, more or less, that Abby will not come after you again if you do not go after her. Like, you've kind of got this like gentleman's agreement that like, let's just stay away from each other. We've both got our shit. We both hate each other. Just leave it. But then she goes after her again. And I was like, Ellie, are you a dick? I was like, 1, she's beat the shit out of you twice. You're lucky to be alive. And 2, this game needs to end. It's been long enough. I was just like, so.
Which brings me to another point. Like, I 100% agree with you. Like, by that point, I was exhausted. I was like mentally over it. And like, though part of me, you know, naturally, I was so fascinated by the game that I maybe didn't want it to end. But for the most part, I wanted it to end because I was like, you know, nothing good's gonna come out of this. You know, this game is not having a happy ending. But do you okay, maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself, but what I want to ask is, do you think there should be a part 3?
No.
So this is where we disagree. Why don't you think there should be a part 3? What is it
Because
about
there's no
you
story
don't
left to
think
be
there should?
told. Like this is my issue because look, I have my own issue with my own opinion because I loved this game. I thought it was a really good game, and of course, whenever I love a game, you want to absorb as much content as you possibly can. Like it's like with Dragon Age, we love it so much, you never want it to end, so like you drag out every side mission. Like, but even part 2, like I get some of the fans' critiques. Obviously, not the dickheads who were tweeting everyone to die of cancer. They can go die and rot in hell. But like, when people were saying this game was quite predictable, the beginning part of it was kind of predictable. You knew what was coming, and the rest of the story was really good. But I don't necessarily see how you can carry the story on, because all that could happen is there's 3 things. You could either result in the death of Ellie, the death of Abby, or them 2 coming together. Because if they made a 3rd one, they'd have to either split Dina and Ellie up or kill Dina. And then, like, Ellie would be raising this baby by herself. Like, do you know what I mean? There'll be some kind of... There has to be, again, more trauma. And I just think Ellie's been through enough. So, like, give the girl a break. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's been through enough.
So, yeah, I totally agree that, like, Ellie has been through enough and everything. And, yeah, maybe... But I feel like because of everything they've gone through in this game and... the pure like pain and how brutal it was, and also the huge fact that Ellie has like this immunity, I feel like there's been too much now of like a backstory for a 3rd game. And like,
yeah,
I know that this game was a bit kind of, you know, cat and mouse, but yeah, like she's got immunity. She let Lev and Abby go. She's come back. She's realised that Dina's not there. Like there's still, I mean, there is still a future for her and Dina, I think, though Dina, like you said, will probably fucking get killed, because that's just how the cookie crumbles in these games.
Literally.
But the immunity thing, I feel like that's always been made to be such a prominent thing, yet you're just going to kind of be like, all right, let's just put that to bed. It's kind of like, oh, surely you should, even if it's a DLC, you know, just to kind of tie the ends a bit.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this game's kind of really tied anything off, because it left it open with Abby and that surviving. It left it open with her immunity still not getting any kind of recognition, and Dina and Tommy, and I don't know. For me, I just don't feel like it didn't have a closing, you know. But that could be my damage, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, I feel like this game was a lot of filler, and what I don't mean that in like an offensive way, like, oh, it was just a load of padding. It was fun filler. It was really good, but like you said, it didn't solve any of the main questions of the story. Like we still don't know why Ellie is the only immune person. Like we're still just guessing that she's just naturally had some kind of mutation and was fine with it, and that's it. We still don't know if Ellie is the only immune person. We still don't have any understanding as to why this virus randomly out. We don't know. It's a bit like the story of The Walking Dead, where like they don't know why people are turning into zombies, and really we don't know why people were turning into plants either, do we? We know there was like a virus and some things went wrong, but that's about as far. Like nothing has been investigated into the sense of like how can we fix the virus? How can we do this? How can we do that? Like really, the only place they could take the game now is if you played the position of the Fireflies in the first game. Like you found out a way to fix the virus and then tried to actively go about fixing it. Because at the end of the day, it seems like that's the only story left worth telling, is the fate of the world. Because Abby's...
I agree with that.
Go on.
I was going to say, like whether her immunity does like mean anything, and whether they did actually could have cured it, you know, whether the doctor did have an idea, and Abby, we should have all been fucking Team Abby or something, you know, like... Yeah, I would love that. I would love a full... I'd miss Ellie and I'd miss Abby, but I'd love, like, to see a background.
I feel like if that's what they need to do, if that's what they're going to do with part 3, because we don't know whether Ellie's story is going to be like has played out or not. We don't know whether it's even worth us even knowing that she's immune. Do you know what I mean? We don't even know if that's going to mean anything. But I just don't know. I feel like if we talk about, I mean, obviously, at the time of recording this, there has apparently been some leaks from the inside of Naughty Dog, and RIP to Naughty Dog security systems. Sorry about that. RIP.
Everyone's security systems these days.
Literally, like, what? Just
do you know what? I feel like it started. Speaking of this, I feel like it started with Last of Us. Like, there was a big old shebang, like, before it came out. And then next to fall was hardcore CD Projekt Red. And then a few months ago, their system got hacked into whatever. You know,
there's a Capcom
it seems...
leak as well.
Yeah,
Nintendo leak.
Yeah, I think people are starting... I mean, I will say, I wish these people that can break into these systems, like, if you're listening, you know, use your intelligence to maybe find like missing people and like things that matter. Yeah. But apart from that, everyone's going to get broken into now. Like, I think it's just, that's just how it's going to be.
A side note to all these big companies, just get McAfee. Do you know what I mean? Just get some malware bites. Just get some McAfee and, you know, just catch up. Like,
I was like, what's McAfee? Because I call it McPhee.
People do. See, I think I'm saying it wrong. I don't know. I've always said McAfee, but like McAfee, but maybe it is McPhee. But there's an A there. It should be McAfee. McAfee. Is it Irish? McAfee.
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 I don't know.
Right. So anyway, so as of these, Naughty Dog has had a leak. What has come out in this leak is that will be a DLC to The Last of Us Part 2, which is all about Abby. So Abby's expansion. Which again, if it's just about Abby, that's fine. I think Abby's story could do with a bit more telling, but only through DLC. I wouldn't. Well, yeah, but I don't want to see a third game. Like, there's not enough for me for a third game. Like a couple of hours of DLC. Maybe going a bit further into how they discovered, I don't know, how this special girl Ellie was around or whatever. Maybe there's a bit of grey area they could explain. But really, I feel like Abby and Ellie, mostly their stories have been told and there's nothing else I really want to know about it. Like, they'd have to take the game in a really unusual direction that I would never think of to really impress me. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's done now. Like, it's done and dead. But, yeah, I don't think there needs to be a part 3. Like, I get it, it's more content, but... And I would like a part 3 in the sense of the gameplay, but no. And I know you really want a part 3, and I'm sorry to do that to you, but go fuck yourself, do you know what I mean?
Alright, yeah, cool. No, well, I'm just...
Why do you think there should be a part 3?
Whoa! Alright, I'll fucking tell you. Alright?
Alright.
I've just said... that, you know, and you even kind of agreed and said that they didn't answer that many questions in the second game. And I feel like, you know, they can kind of clear that up a bit in a third game. What are we doing about her immunity? What is happening to the Fireflies? Like, what happened to Dina? I don't know. There was no closure. She lost some fingers and we called it a day. Like, for all of that, the longest game in the fucking situation, and you're not going to give me any kind of, like, I don't know, any kind of closure, apart from the fact that Joel's dead, you've lost 2 fingers, and Dina's fucked off, like, and Abby's chilling with Lev. That's it, though, isn't it? That was it.
Abby's got no ponytail.
Abby's lost her fucking ponytail, like... You know.
She's lost her ponytail. She's been on Juice Plus and lost all that muscle. She's just like...
She fell into a pyramid scheme.
yeah. She fell into an MLM and she's never looked back. Like, I feel like there's some missing bits of the story, like you said, a bit of closure. But again, I feel like that could be done in a DLC. I don't feel it needs a full game because there's just not enough of the story.
Okay, maybe a DLC will be enough. As long as the DLC is about, like, 10, 15 hours.
Oh, for God's sake. I just think, like, yeah, I mean, because okay, like the way the game started to set up the ending, like returning, the Fireflies are around, Owen was right all along, there's Fireflies here, and then it turns out it was a trap, so the Fireflies are dead and gone. Like, we don't know exactly why they crumbled so completely. Obviously, we know that Joel shot the place up, and but he didn't kill every single Firefly. I'm sure there was like hundreds in that building still, but for some reason they're no more. Maybe there could be a bit of detail in that as well, but yeah, I don't know. I thought the ending of the game though, I thought was really cool, because by the end of it, I did really like Abby, because when I told you when I liked her, when she met Lev and I want to say it began with an S. What was the girl's name? No, it wasn't. Yuri? Yara? Yara. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I could have said anything and you'd agreed. So when she met Lev and Yara, I found that really interesting, because I liked the way they tied some extra bits together. Because, I tell you what was really heartbreaking. It wasn't heartbreaking at first, because I didn't give a shit about Abby, but it was heartbreaking at the end. So when you break into the aquarium as Ellie to begin with, and then you shoot that dog, I was like, that dog's fucking dead, get out of my way. And then as I started Abby's campaign, I was like, oh no, I shot Alice, didn't I? And that was all I felt. And then by the end of it, I was like, don't shoot Alice. Poor little Alice. She was just protecting her home. She's a dog. She's the only one who's innocent in all of this.
Like fucking throw the ball and play with the dog.
Yeah, and pet her and everything.
Yeah, that was a bit of a step too far. Like, I'll deal with a golf club. I'll deal with like fucking no fingers, but shooting a dog, like, was there any need? Was there any need?
Kill Joe all day long. Don't kill the dog. That's not necessary.
Yeah. No one should ever fucking have games with animals being hurt.
Literally,
like
but I did.
Game off topic. Sorry, there's a game called like Hunters or something, like Hunting Simulator, and every time I see it, I'm like, fucking stop. Like, I don't know, not my cup of tea. No, leave the dogs.
We don't hurt animals. Mm-hmm. We stan the RSPCA. We don't deal with we don't agree with cruelty of animals. We don't agree with Ellie shooting Alice. Rip.
No.
But yeah, like that whole bit I really liked, because when you broke in as Ellie, you were like, why is there this blood is fresh? Like, what's going on? And I like that they added all that extra content in, because really we didn't need to know Yara's story because she dies. And like Lev, we got a bit of character building with Lev, but it didn't really mean anything to Lev because we never really get to play as him. He's not our main guy. And it helps broaden Abby's character a little bit about her being caring and wanting to go back, and it hammers home that she's a good person on the inside. But you didn't really need it. So it was nice, but I liked that they included it. It was like, it gave that extra bit of mystery. It's like, well, why is there blood everywhere? They never answered that question. And then when you go back and you realise why you got the saw, and that like Yara's arm was basically going to like fall off, and that you had to like do what you did. I liked all of that. I thought that was really quite interesting, and I enjoyed that they made you play through the bit as well. It wasn't just a cutscene of you having to break back into the aquarium because something wasn't right, and then walking through and then finding Alice being shot. And it was interesting that it still gave you the option to shoot and hold your gun, even though there's no one there, because you've played as Ellie, she's gone, there's no threat. But it almost lets you carry on as normal. Like, what would Abby do in a situation? Maybe someone is still there. Like, what? I thought it was just quite clever the way it like manipulated you into seeing Owen being done. Oh, okay. Wait. Side note. Speaking of Owen, I know you know exactly what I'm about to say. I can see your face. The eyebrows have gone up. I knew they were gonna fuck in that little boat.
Wait, I was shook off. I was not like. I guess maybe part of me... No, it didn't. It was all very aggressive. And the next thing, she's like fucking topless and he's got her from behind. I was like, whoa.
That was the big... When she got close to him and he grabbed her hair, I was like, they're going to fuck. I'm just waiting for it to happen. I just didn't know how much I was going to see. And then when it was anime... Oh my God. Like when she ripped off her top and you saw her little pancakes and like... And they were going at it, and because the camera starts off under the neck so you don't see any tit, and then suddenly you do see a load of tit, and then when he flips her over and bends her over the table and gives her 3 hard pumps, I was like, what am I watching? And I had to turn my volume down because it got so like it got really intense.
I had to close
really
my blinds. I was like, someone's gonna think that I'm like, see, this is the thing, like I'm all for games being real and like throwing that scene in, whatever. But like,
yeah.
We need some warning because some of us are playing these games in the presence of others, and then when you get like a full-blown fucking tea, it's like, okay.
And some of us are playing these games in flats with not thick walls, so like, so we don't need our neighbours knowing that we're watching 2 characters 2 pixels fuck on on my screen. And as you know, I recently bought a new TV, so I saw that shit in fucking 10K. Like, it was
HDR.
10K 3D HDR with yeah.
Right. Yeah, so that happened.
That happened, and I found that really interesting because that really added a lot of depth to her story. Because I was like, oh no, you fucked Owen. Like, what about Mel? Mel's
her
pregnant.
Banging and just then added so much depth to her story. Like, I just really felt for her then and like cared about her life.
her being taken from behind in a boat really added some spiritual depth to her character.
I just understood the zone, you know, and the chi that she was feeling.
I just really got in her mindset, and I was like, yeah, like, I got what it represented. It was just, it was a lot. It was a lot. I will say another side note. I love a good side note. When you are playing as Abby and you go back to the wolf base, and you're breaking in to get something. I think it's when you break in with Lev, and Lev waits behind while you go and get the saw and stuff. You bump into Manny and you walk into the hospital building where they share with you that Danny's been shot by Owen. No one knows where Owen is. And there's a guy that's had his fingers blown off. And Manny says to him, "It's all right, buddy. You only need 3 fingers." Obviously alluding to the fact that you only need 3 fingers to please a woman. And then I found it really funny. Not funny, but at the end, that obviously Ellie, being a lesbian, has 2 of her has 2 of her fingers blown off, so she's only got 3 fingers left. I thought that was really funny.
I didn't even clock that.
Because I said this the other day when I didn't think you got what I said, because you texted me and you were like, and she's only got 3 fingers, so people think there'll be a number 3, and I went, yeah, well, she only needs 3, as Manny said.
God.
And like, you didn't react in the appropriate way. And I was like, you didn't obviously get what I was
slightly ashamed because that's something I should have got.
You should have been well versed in that. You should have picked up.
I should have been like, it's true.
It's true. No. I see myself in her.
You. Okay.
You. But yeah, so that was also your conspiracy theory, that you think because she has 3 fingers, there's going to be a
Well, no, I read that online and I was like, yeah, that could be right. But no, I think it's a nod to both, to be honest.
I think it's a nod to lesbianism and a part 3.
Yeah.
You never know.
So. We're all down for that.
We're all down for that.
Yeah, so what have you got any lasting thoughts? Yeah.
I do. I have so many thoughts. This paper's full of shit. Okay, I tell you what, there's 2 things that I think I want to say, and hopefully I haven't forgotten anything else, but this game is so huge, and I don't even know how long we've been going for, and I dread to look at the timer. But the 2 things that I was going to say is basically, I did like Abby by the end of it, and I did feel really bad for her, and I didn't like in the theatre scene when it makes you try to murder Ellie, and then in the end of it when it's you as Ellie trying to murder Abby, and I was like, like you said, I didn't want any part of it at all. But the one thing I will say is that I think overall, and I'm just like checking my notes to make sure that like I haven't left anything else out, is that basically by the point in the game where Abby is ready to kill Ellie and you're like murdering her, you have so much of Ellie's backstory that you don't want her to die because you know all about her. But then when it goes to the other way around, it was like, I don't think Abby's story did enough of a job of like softening her to the player. Like, I did really like Abby at the end, but I feel like it took so long to like her that I didn't get to appreciate her soft side. And also because she is built like a brick shit house, it's hard to see her as like vulnerable because she's like a tough character. Like, she could deck you. She
could absolutely fucking destroy you. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
I'll say, like, I think I only really liked her right towards the end was because we saw a weaker side of her. Like, she weren't the strong one. We'd seen her take a protective role over Lev and stand up for Lev no matter fucking what. And it was like, okay, this girl's like got some stuff, you know, like I'm appreciating her. Whereas in the beginning, they didn't really show her. They didn't show the dad, who's the core of it. Like, we knew all about Joel and his brutal death, but we didn't really see much about the dad. We just know that he got stabbed by Joel. Like, they did play, I think it was a bit of an unfair hand, you know, and then I think that's why a lot of people, like me for one, every time I had to play as Abby, I was like, oh, you know, because it was like, there's nothing really screaming to me. But then I guess eventually you do kind of go back and forward in the hospital with the lights. But yeah, it's a slow burner for sure.
Yeah, you definitely that you have that walking nightmare where you keep going back and seeing him being murdered and stuff, and you keep opening that door to different scenarios and different scenes. But yeah, I just felt like they introduced the fact that the doctor was Abby's dad too quickly, because by that point you hate her so much because she's taken all this away from you. You finally killed her friends, but you can't find her. You've hunted her down. She's now come in, murdered Jesse off the bat, and then suddenly it's like, now let's tell you Abby's story. Her dad was murdered by Joel, but you find that out so early on in that bit of DLC, because the second you see her dad, if you're a fan of the game, you know exactly who he is, because straight away you're like, oh, he's the doctor. But then you actually find out the exact scenario, if you didn't recognize him, 10 minutes after. And I felt like it's so soon that all I did was go, okay, I see why she did it. I see why she went back and killed Joel. Fine. I still hate her. It was like, it took me so long to actually like Abby that I was like, I wish I would have liked her a little bit sooner. I feel like they could have made you play the tough side of her a little bit more. Like the second I kind of took up control of her, I didn't really give a shit about her. And I was like, okay. And then you collecting her coins, and then you hate her dad because you're like, well, her dad tried to kill Ellie, and I'm still Team Ellie, and I love Ellie, so fuck Abby and fuck everyone, blah, 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 blah. Like,
yeah, the game's just a fucking world of hurt, isn't it? It's just like, you can't win
it is
either
a
way.
complete world of hurt.
I will say though, like as you said, like if they do bring out a DLC, then I will obviously be very excited about it. But I would much rather it was like a tie up situation where Ellie's like happy back where she is and Abby's happy doing what she's doing, and they're both fighting their causes. Like, that sounds really boring, but I think this game just exhausted me a bit, and I would like that. As much as I love it and I want to play it again, it's still a very exhausting experience. Even if you've already played it, like I went to play it again and I couldn't watch the cutscenes because I was like, I'm not ready to watch these cutscenes again. I'm just going to play it for the gameplay.
See, I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I could play it again unless, I mean, like I said, the DLC I think will add more depth to it, because for the reasons that I just said is why I think the DLC is for Abby, because it takes you so long to learn to love her that you don't actually enjoy her segments of the game. And like, I mean, even looking back, when you compare her sob story to Ellie's in the game, like with Ellie, Joel takes you to the Smithsonian Space Museum, and like that to me as a player felt so special. Like I was like, oh my god, they're together, and we know Joel's dead. It's a really precious memory. And like I went to every dinosaur, so I actually walked that part of it. You don't have to, you can run through it. I walked to every dinosaur, heard their commentary, heard the little Jurassic Park in jokes and the Easter eggs and stuff. Loved every minute of it. And then when she gets in the space shuttle and you pretend that you're flying in space with Joel, like that was all really sad and deep and emotional and so good. And then with Abby, it was like, oh, my boyfriend's a dick. Like, oh, he might possibly cheat on me with Mel. Oh, he's a bit of a renegade. My dad's dead. And it was like, it didn't grab me in the same way. I was like, okay.
They
like,
took zero time with that, didn't they, in comparison?
They did.
Like, for sure,
but I wonder if that was on purpose, though. I don't know. Like, you can think this is a clever design choice because you did like Abby in the end, so maybe it was just to slowly wean you in. Or maybe it was because this DLC was always planned and they wanted to give her a deeper backstory afterwards, after the fact. I mean, this could be it after the fact. It could be what Abby's doing now, because we kind of know what Ellie's doing now. Ellie's gone to the house. You can make that story up in your head. She'll probably go back to Jackson, find Dina, either patch it up or not patch it up. With Abby, she literally got in a boat and went away. She's got no home, no base, no nothing. So where is she going? Do you know what I mean? She's literally going to any piece of land that she can find. So maybe it's like what happens to her next, but I don't know. And one small thing I wanted to say is that I felt that when you played as Abby, the controls were different. I don't know how you felt this, but I felt they were heavier. And like when I pressed like certain buttons, like the dodge button, it would take her longer to react than Ellie did. And it really showed it in that scene. You know the scene where you end up in the Scar territory and Abby's about to be hanged, and then Yara and Lev come in and save you, and you've only got a hammer and you're fighting off all the infected. I died so many times because I kept pressing dodge and she wasn't moving. And I was like, move, you bitch, like what are you doing? But her delay was longer than Ellie's. And I felt like, because she's more of a tank character, was that on purpose or was that an accident? I was like, is it because she's a heavier character?
They've probably just, I mean, I'm trying to remember now if I really noticed it. I don't know whether it's like a placebo effect type situation where you just feel like she's slightly heavier, but obviously Ellie is more like nimble, and I think that comes across in the horrendous theatre scene, you know, you feel like you feel
and
like
he slips around you quite quickly.
Yeah, like you're trying to be the predator, but she's like got this shotgun and she looks scary but also really small, and it's like, yeah, she's a nimble girl, isn't she?
It does show you how Ellie has come this far, because when I was fighting her, I was like, fuck. I was like, Ellie can move quick. And I was like, and you can't, it's hard to sneak around, and Ellie's got all this fucking weaponry. I was like, do you know what? When I was Ellie, I was a beast and I didn't even know it.
I'm like, I did you right, boo. Like, you know, how to hold your own.
I raised you.
So, any more lasting thoughts?
I don't think. I'm literally just looking. Oh, okay. The final thing that I have to say.
Okay.
The finale is what I really enjoyed. I said to you in the first podcast of Blast of Us Part 2 is I didn't like how you kept jumping between Joel and Ellie and Abby and the constant character changing, and I didn't have long enough to enjoy a scenario because I was being someone else with different weaponry and different guns, and it was too confusing. One thing I did like is how they slowly told the story over the entire game of the night that Dina kissed Ellie, because like you thought that Ellie had left things with Joel on a really sour note, and then you slowly find out that actually they had a conversation at the bar after the argument, and then you find out they had another conversation back at Joel's house after the fight, and Ellie confronts him about the fact that she knew. Oh, because that was another thing. You found out earlier on that she confronted Joel and found out the real reason that why he took her away from the Fireflies, but then you find out that she actually poured her heart out to him and was like, you should have let me die. You should have let me be a reason to save the earth. And then when Joel says, if I had the chance to do it all again, I would do it all exactly the same way, and I would save you because I love you.
Yeah.
And I was, and I'm really glad they had that moment, because like I thought, well, she'll never get it, because I even said to you at the time, she'll never get a chance to vent her anger, like she's going to be living with this, but she did. And I was like, do you know what? I'm actually happy that she got her chance to say all that. And like, and Ellie's little like notebook and all her moody emo lyrics that she's writing of this song about suffocating with a cord, and I was like, all right, Els,
I know, yeah,
calm down, babe.
I mean, she's been in a dark place for a while now, but
the darkness. You okay, hun? You've barely finished writing your dark emo song. You've barely touched your Weetabix and baked beans. Are you okay?
Bean. Just your one bean, because we've ran out.
One bean. Oh my god.
But yeah, it's an emotional ending. I agree. Like, I'm glad they brought that around, and kind of you realise that it wasn't as kind of bad, I guess. It's a bit sad they didn't get to he didn't get to make it up to her or whatever, but at the same time, yeah, like I'm glad they added that, and it weren't just a bit like, that's it, like, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad they had it, because the last time you really spoke to Joel properly was when you were going on the hunt for the guitar strings, and it was a really lovely little mission, and then it ended really sourly when you had the argument. So like, it always seemed like it was being left on a negative end, and you were like, why is Ellie being so nasty to him? Like, he's done a lot. Like, and why is Joel putting up with her nastiness for so much? Like, there was a lot of like questions, but I'm glad they actually talked it out. It was quite nice. I'm glad these virtual pixels talked it out. It set my heart right.
I'm glad they sorted their shit out, you know.
I'm glad they sorted their beef out. Well, one's dead. Agreed. Yep. But
so yeah, to categorise then, what you're saying is worth a play, solid game, but you had enough, and that was pretty much it.
I was done. If someone said, I've played the first one, should I give the second one a go? If you'd have asked me a week ago, I'd have said, don't worry about it. I can tell you that's the one plot point that's interesting, and that would be it. I didn't think the game was worth the game. By the end of it, I really enjoyed it, and actually I'm glad that it took me on this journey, and it kind of like, it took me to the end to appreciate the entire product, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Up until the last part of the game, most of the game is kind of worthless to me. I was a bit like, I'm enjoying the gameplay, but I'm not getting what I want from this game. It's just too long and monotonous. But then you realise that that's all for a purpose. Like, and at the end of it, I was like, do you know what? They probably did this right, actually. I quite liked it. I think it's worth a play. If I had to rate it out of 10, I'd give it a solid 8, maybe a 9. I did think it was very good. I did think it was very good.
I'd agree with that. It's a long experience, but like you said, I mean, yeah, you do feel like, oh my god, this is never ending. But when you get to the end of it, it's like, wow, that's number one. I feel some kind of way because like I've just been through that thing where you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You see like Joel and Ellie, and yeah, it does kind of leave like a feeling, like it's a lasting thought, you know. Like, I know a lot of people had negative thoughts about it, but it's very rare you find a game that everyone will be talking about. And like,
Yeah.
I for one don't think I'll forget that kind of storytelling, because it's the first game that I've ever felt kind of some kind of way from fighting someone that I've played for so long. Like, I don't know, I just think it did a lot of things right and not very many things wrong, really. Like, gameplay was solid, music was great. Ashley Johnson singing that song, oh god, I've forgotten the name of it. What's wrong with me?
Take On Me by Aha. That was great. I love that scene. I was like sing along with her. That was such a cool little moment. I almost wish there was a little bit more of that. I know you got to play guitar a few times. Can I just say also at the very end, I was like, oh, she can't play guitar properly because she's missing her fingers. Like, and then it did sound a bit dodgy, and I was like, ooh.
That
rip.
was that was literally my first thought. I was like, look what. It was kind of like, this has taught you a lesson. Like, you going after her and wanting to fight her has fucked up your one last memory of Joel, who taught you to play guitar. Now you can't play it because you fucking lost your fucking fingers.
But it's like, that's like it. It's like a deeper message, isn't it? It's like going after, being the selfish person and going after her to satisfy her own. Because really, Joel's dead. You're not doing it for Joel. She was doing it to get herself right in her head because she felt bad about the way she left things with him. It's like, because you were selfish and went after her, you've now lost a piece of him. You've lost a piece of yourself, like literally and metaphorically. Like, it was quite. What a game! Now all she can think. What a game! Like, it was very good. It was very emotionally draining. I really enjoyed it. I think it was really good. I don't for a second think that it was worth any of the abuse or whatever it was getting online. I think we
should dedicate just a little bit of time towards that now and discuss.
Yeah, I do just want to talk about that for like a moment. Like, even if you take away the vile stuff and you just talk about the critique for a second, I don't think it deserves such a negative reception. I think it was, like we've said it has flaws. It's very long. It's the pacing isn't great and stuff, but it's still, apart from all of the other issues, it's still like a knockout game. I think it's fantastic and didn't deserve such negative reception. But on the other hand, it did not deserve whatever the fuck these mentalists were tweeting people, and like people that were saying to other people, like to developers. Like, even I know that some actors, like you were saying, some of the actors who played, I think it was one who played Abby, like came off social media
Laura
for a bit.
Bailey got a lot of shit for that, and the girl who was the model, none of this was officially said, but I just assumed that she kept herself well out of any kind of limelight, completely off social media. And I don't blame her. Like, I would have been terrified if it was hard enough for Laura Bailey, who was just a voice. If people saw you who looked exactly like Abby, you can only imagine. Maybe she did get loads of shit, but you can only imagine like what she was being told. But like, that's never okay. Like, that was just so ridiculous. And I think we figured it out from literally Last of Us Part 2 coming out, how fucking vile some people can be to people, like to developers and game developers. Like, they're putting out a product for people to enjoy. There's no like malicious feelings, yet people just lose their shit, you know? Literally,
at the end of the day, it's a story. Like, it's like your favourite film, favourite book, favourite whatever. You don't like it when something doesn't go the way you want it to, but that's not, unfortunately, it's not your story to be told. It's your story to listen to. So like, you know what I mean? If you don't like it, just play the first game and just forget the second game exists. Like, be a normal human being. Like, the fact that these people had to come off social media, and the fact that like developers were being tweeted saying that they hope their family dies of cancer, and we hope you'll get like run over, we hope you'll get murdered. Like, are you okay in the head? Like, this is actually just like,
we're talking from the heart. Like, you generally need to get some specialist treatment. Like, if you think
you
that's
need
funny,
some fucking treatment.
It's just not. It's really weird, and like, it's really not funny. And I think the only person in the entire world that thinks it's a good idea is yourself. Like, no normal person agrees with you.
Like, you deserve to have your 2 fingers blown off, your tweeting fingers blown off, like Ellie did, if you think that's okay.
At least 4. So you've only got 1 left.
At least 4 missing. You want no thumbs. Get rid of the thumbs. They can't do it quick. Like, I can't. I always think about this when you see celebrities and stuff. I can't imagine myself. There's some things I don't like and don't agree with, and I'd be like, do you know what? That was a bit shit. I wouldn't really even think of leaving an Instagram comment or a tweet or anything to just be so negative, because there's no need. But then leaving a critique is one thing, but that, like, being okay with yourself being that vicious is really confusing to me. Like, I can't imagine, like, for example, you doing something and me feeling the need to step out and be like, "Do you know what? I hope you fucking die and you're a terrible fucking person." Like, that's a lot of anger.
It's bizarre. Like,
yeah, it's the
not
kind of
one part
anger
of
you
my
have for
brain
someone that you
functions
once, yeah, like, it's the kind of anger you have for someone like you once loved. You know how they say, like, love and hate are very close. You can only really hate those you've loved, because, like, you have to be that intense with them. To be able to say that about, like, a game developer who you've never met, don't know, from Adam, who, he's not even from the same country as you, is wild to me. And I think it's completely insane. And, like, if you really want a part 3, it's because of people like this that you probably won't get one, because what's the point? Because it's just going to be, I mean, it won loads of awards and it cleaned up, but is that worth it to put other people's mental health at risk? Like, you know, what if those actors don't come back, who are Ellie and Joel and Abby, like the iconic voices? They might have to get new voices, and that ruins the game, as we know from Metal Gear Solid. So do you know what I mean? Like, why? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Well said.
Thanks, I'm a poet. But to sum it up, yeah, that was a ride, and I hope I covered every point. I'm looking at my little notebook, and my leg's gone dead. So it's a lot's happened in this podcast.
I mean, I'm feeling satisfied with the topic and the conversation. I feel like we pretty much touched on every point. I hope those listening, you know, agreed with us somewhat. Enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed the game, at least, in whichever way you were able to enjoy it, or if you didn't, I hope you still appreciate it and the hard work that developers go into to make these games a possibility. And yeah, thank you for listening to us. It's always appreciated.
Yeah, it is. I'll say the same thing. Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. I enjoyed talking about it. I think we covered a lot. The only thing left I think I would say is that one person I didn't speak about really a lot was the little character Lev. And you know what? I quite liked him. I thought he was a really cool little addition.
Yes, Lev.
I really liked Lev.
I wish, actually. No, yeah, you're right. Lev needs some time. Lev was important.
He does.
Very, very.
Lev was
very
really important to Abby's story and to his own. Like, he had a really cool story. Do you know what? I'd like to see a little bit of DLC with Abby and Lev. So I'm happy there could be one coming out with him in it, because I'd like to know a little bit more about him. Like, he's a really cool little kid, and whoever played him, well done. You did a good job.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really
and
good
whoever
job.
wrote him, you did a good job. He was cool.
We love Lev.
But yeah, so full props to Naughty Dog, well done, and to, like, Neil Druckmann and to the whole team. We loved it. And don't be a prick online. This is how I'm going to end it.
Don't be a prick. Full stop.
Don't be a prick. So thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We do have social media, so if you want to follow us, then you can on Twitter at TG Breakdown, on Instagram at TG Breakdown Podcast. We tend to Twitch every now and then, and that is the Game Breakdown. We have YouTube, which is the Game Breakdown. We're doing a lot.
We're doing a lot right now, but like we're enjoying it, aren't we?
We are, and we have full-time jobs as well, but hey ho, we enjoy it. So yeah, feel free to follow us and tell us if you agree with us or you hate us and think that, you know, we should be, like, thrown off of the earth as well because of our opinions.
Please
and
no.
Whatever. Please no. Are you team Abby? Are you team Ellie? Are you team Last of Us Part 3, or are you not? Let us know, because we have slightly differing opinions. And yeah, if you want to follow us on Twitch as well, because we possibly could be doing some more streaming soon. We've streamed a bit of Croc, and we may possibly be streaming some other things in the future, like Resident Evils and stuff. And who knows, if people care enough, we may even stream a Last of Us while both of us playing it and arguing the entire time. If you want to see that, then follow us on Twitch. But thanks for listening, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye. slowly learn